What's up, guys? We're back. This is week 16. I've got a dear friend of mine, Cheyenne. Cheyenne's a top tier certified TC. She's a real estate investor and she's getting into ops management. So, Cheyenne, why don't you kind of kick us off a little bit? Tell us like who you are, how you got here, and what got you started.
Yeah, so my name is Cheyenne Armstrong. I just got into real estate last year. A friend of mine had sent me Pace Morby's YouTube as it always happens with most people in this community. And then I was kind of going through those videos and realized that it was something that I wanted to get into. I wanted to leave kind of the W-2 lifestyle. I was tired of working for other people and um, I'd been in sales and science and all these different things, and I just wasn't finding anything that really spoke to me. So at that time, I had also left my W-2 and was traveling for a while, and then came back into the States and needed something to start. So started getting into the YouTubes with Pace and found the TC stuff with Molly Tennant, his operations manager, and realized like I'm super OCD. I love organizing everything. I love explaining things, teaching people about things, and also not knowing anything about real estate. I wanted to learn the back end before I started investing or anything like that. So did that, went through the course, and then launched my business in October and it was great. Went really great for a while. Made a couple of great relationships with some wholesalers, completed a couple of deals, and then went to Squad Up Summit in April,
Mhm.
where I met a bunch of different people, including Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun introduction. I remember I was just telling people, I was like, hey, I'm looking for an operator because I'm trying to launch an integrator team here. And like, this is what we're trying to do. And she's like, hold on, I'll be right back. Like, don't blink. And sure as shit, somebody come. I forget who it was even. Do you remember?
I have no idea.
I just remember they came back with you, like grabbed you by the wrist. I was like, this is Cheyenne. You should meet Cheyenne.
I know I honestly really lucked out at Squad Up because I was at the point in my TC stuff that TC stuff is great. I enjoy it, but I kind of was hitting a cap, and I went to Squad Up with the intention of wanting to be Molly. And at Squad Up, one of the main points that everyone started talking about was, hey, everyone needs to go find an operations manager. So I was just in the right place at the right time, and that worked out. So
I was gonna say, speaking of UTC, Emma popped in and she said TC love. So
yeah,
excited.
I am a
Hello.
Emma's the best.
Hey. Thank you, Adam. I'm gonna have my camera off and my sound off for most of it because I am on child duty. But I am here. So
sounds good.
I station.
Well, we're glad you popped in, Emma. She's awesome. Well, I think I told you, Shane, we're doing a raise for her right now for her first portfolio deal.
Yeah, I have that pitch deck. I'm gonna send it to our investment team or our underwriting team in a second,
Badass.
tomorrow. So.
Yeah, so you got into it and you started, like you said, you started doing TC work. So then how did you start to transition into doing more of like ops work then?
Um, I think a lot of it was just me working with these investors and realizing that a lot of investors get in their own way, obviously, and I am lucky enough to have a skill set in which I love to look at people's businesses and say, hey, this major or this hiccup right here, this is what's holding you back from the next step. And it usually is, it's not that I have anything special, but it's just being able to look at something from the outside. And most investors are so narrow-minded within their own field of view that they're not able to kind of step back and look at what they're running into. And I enjoy working out those little kinks in people's businesses, whether it's something as like communication or a system that's not working or just not following up on something or something like that. So,
Yeah, I'm with you. Most investors, they get so lost they can't see the forest through the trees. And
yeah, and their visions are great. Like they're talking about amazing things and doing amazing things and the relationships that they build and the conversations that they're able to have are incredible, but it's just like these tiny little things that they can't figure out. and
Yeah,
I'll help you.
they're like, I'm gonna buy $100 million worth of real estate next year. Well, that's great, bro, but y'all are still sending 60 emails a day to each other.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
how do you expect to do that? Are you gonna like zip tie this whole thing together and just hope it holds?
yeah, and a lot of them they do, and I love efficiency above anything else, so just works out.
Hormozy calls it the constraint. Like when you look at like your sales process, or in this case in the systems, wherever the most people fall off, that is the highest leverage point that you can fix, right? So like if you're getting a lot of leads, but you're getting very low like lead magnet take, and then your sales conversions are good, well, that tells you need to fix the lead magnet. And that will give you the highest leverage point in order to fix the system. So I guess where are you seeing some of the common breakdowns at?
Um, let's see. I think a big one, and this is a big part where TCs and my portion of the ops manager stuff can is really coming into play with this team that I'm on right now. Um,
Mhm.
it's investors are able to have the conversations and they build the relationships, and as soon as they get a yes, they don't know what to do, and a lot of things fall through. So, it's getting their contracts going or having them fill out the contracts and then moving the back and forth between the interested parties to make sure that the contract actually gets sent through and then moved into the TC phase of organizing it, pushing it through escrow, and then setting up all the back end stuff so that it's just the investor makes the deal and then they're done. They don't really have to worry about it until they close, come up with the money, and then move on with the property. But just handling all of the back end stuff that they don't, all the tediousness.
Yeah, because we were talking about project management software before we started recording. And, you and I talked about this previously. Like, most people are just kind of running spreadsheets and hoping for the best.
Yeah, yeah. The amount of people that I've seen on Excel is, and they're managing all kinds of things. They're keeping track of all their loans, um, what properties have tenants in them, and all of this stuff. And there's systems for that. And especially so on the team that I'm on right now, he has 13 people, this investor, that each have a different category of jobs or specialties. They have marketing and property management and acquisitions and all of these different things, and it's communicating in between all of these people and keeping everybody on track of what they're trying to do. So,
Yeah, I think spreadsheets have been the default for organization because I've seen that, like, even in the consulting gig I'm doing right now. I asked somebody to do something inside the project management software the other day, and she's like, "Well, can I just make a spreadsheet for it?" And I was like, "No, no, you cannot. Like, this is not 2005. We've moved on to like new levels of organization. So, like, can we please use the system that we're paying a shitload of money for?"
yeah. And Excel's great, but it definitely has limits.
Well, and same thing, like Google Sheets is great, right? Like you and I can be in the same sheet at the same time, organizing the same data, but even that still has its limitations.
Yeah. Well, there's no reminders too, and I've noticed that that's a huge problem for people that are trying to work on their acquisitions and get more deals. You have the first conversation and then you say, "Hey, okay, cool, I'll follow up with you in a week," and they never do because they don't have a system that's reminding them, "Hey, like you said that we would do this." It's just all through Excel or whatever. So,
Right, and you're just kind of hoping that they're scrolling through Excel every single day and catching the notes that, like you said, they made for themselves if they remember to make the notes.
yeah. Hold on, let me put this. Excel is inexpensive and people know how to use it at a basic level, but not good for multi-user. Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, it's very common, and I think it's become a default. And like I said, with Google Sheets, you can run Google data scripts, and you know, Cheyenne and I are now familiar with this tool called Hexamatic that can crunch data and it can do all that stuff, and it's great. However, like Cheyenne also said, it doesn't remind you.
Yeah.
Like people need something that like bugs the crap out of them and tells them like, "Hey, guess what? You need to make this call. You need to make this call. You need to make this call, or you gotta follow up with this person."
Yep. Yeah.
So, what other kind of things are you seeing? I mean, I know, like I said, usually systems are not even well maintained or utilized in my experience, if there's any at all. So I guess
Yeah. Well, and I've seen a lot of investors roll out new systems and then they never train their team on how to use it. So one or two people know how to use it and then everyone else is kind of just floundering and then they're frustrated, so they just revert back to what they knew and then data is all over the place. So,
that makes a lot of sense too. I could definitely see that. Um, that's one of the things, like I said, we were talking about before the recording that I'm dealing with now is we have one person, it's the executive support. So like there's the president and there's client care and marketing and and then there's executive support. Well, executive support was like not on board until I think what made her realize was I started building out the projects task list and tasks and subtasks to all be exactly how the SOPs are written. And all of a sudden, I got all these ornery responses like, "This isn't my task. This was taken off my plate." And I was like, "Well, guess what, dude? I can only build it the way the SOP's written. I came in from the outside.
yeah.
Uh, so I don't know what you want me to do about it. Like, you're gonna have to rewrite this SOP
Hmm.
if that's the case." And eventually, now that she's starting to see that, she's like, "Oh shit, there is a lot that we need to fix, and this is not on my plate, and he can take more off my plate. Like, maybe we should do this."
Yeah. I know. So, the investor that I work with, his girlfriend is like his right hand, and I feel so bad for the girl because before she was, she's amazing, but she was trying to handle all of these different things before he hired a team, and she's she's great because she's allowing it to be delegated away. But I have seen a lot of investors that aren't okay with that. They have a really, really hard time like letting go of control so that someone else can take that off of their plate so that they can do what they're supposed to do. And I also think that that also comes back to just hiring the right people. But
Well, and I think it's a thing inside of most entrepreneurs that they don't want to let go of that level of responsibility that they've had, right? Like this thing is their baby, whatever it is. Because I see that in regular businesses. Like I said, the business that I'm consulting is not a real estate investment business. It's actually business coaching. Um, and she also didn't want to delegate. And it just comes down to a lack of trust. But the lack of trust has nothing to do with the team. It just has to do with their mindset around
mhm,
whether they think they can trust them with with these high level tasks or not.
yeah. Well, and you have to there's so many good quotes about like building a team that I really enjoy. I think Warren Buffett said, how do you know if you built a good team? And it's if you don't have to make stupid rules.
Yeah,
If you feel like you have to like make all these things like, for example, don't drink at work or check your email in the morning or something like that, like you don't have a good team, that's your fault.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, and that also comes from a lot of times, well, people will build a team and they'll build it either incorrectly or they'll leave a cancer on the team for too long. And then next thing you know, they end up with this shitty culture and they do have to put stupid rules in place. And then if you, by the time you cut the cancer out, you got a whole mountain to climb.
you know, yeah, that's a big one too. And I feel bad because like a lot of investors that you get started with your best friends or your family or something like that, but if someone is dragging their feet and isn't going to, they don't have the same kind of motivation that you do or the love for the business or they're not doing their part, you're always going to be dragging them. And I understand like some people having extenuating circumstances like uh, someone passing away in the family or just time that they have to take away, but they also have to be putting in the same kind of effort.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think what most people don't realize is that the reason they also have a hard time letting go is because they can't see any of the data. And at the end of the day, they can't see the data because they don't have the systems. If they don't have the systems and they can't see the data, then they have no idea what they can trust people to do or not do. I bet you most people, if they could see what their team actually does, they'd realize their team does the job roles better than they do.
Oh, 100%. And that's the dream. You should be hiring people that are better at what you can't do in all of these different aspects of your business so that you don't have to worry about that and you can do what you're good at. But a lot of people won't do that.
No, no, they won't. They will usually just kind of like you said, they'll hire like their friend or their person that they think is just as skilled as they are, or somebody that they think they can train from the ground up so they can pay them less.
Hmm.
And none of those are a recipe for a successful business ever.
I did always like that. What Pace has always talked about in his community is there's no point in trying to short people on pay that you're getting. Like if someone's coming in and they're bringing you a deal and you're going to give them 10%, 20% of a deal, why? Like if you would motivate them to bring you more deals, if you would just split it or make it fairer for them and everyone wins with more money.
Yeah.
You're going to short them out on the first time, like they're not going to want to work with you and they're going to want to go find work with someone else.
It's also understanding what incentivizes your teams too, right? Because like not everybody is money driven. Some people just want the recognition, and sometimes it is as simple as that. Um, but it's understanding your people and being able to work with that human capital and those and that relationship capital, and really getting people to understand that we're all on the same mission, right? We all have to row the boat at the same pace in the same direction. Otherwise, the boat goes wherever the fuck the boat wants to go.
Yeah. And it's also, I think it's also making the business's goal, your team's goal, and figuring out how to, same thing, incentivize them, but figuring out how to make those the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of investors are like, oh, like this is the dream, this is our dream, and if we do this, we can make money. And I don't know, people can go make money anywhere. There has to be a specific reason why they want to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And I think too to piggyback on that, a lot of times the reasons that they have are superficial and they don't actually speak to the individuals on the team. So then therefore it's the same as having no reasons at all. They're like you said, I can go make money anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I can go if I can go make money on Cheyenne's team or Robert's team or John's team, like what difference does it make? At that point I'm comparing who's gonna pay me more money as opposed to giving them a reason to stay on your team.
Yeah.
I guess so. You worked with a bunch of teams, though, like through your TC work. What's some of the tactical things you could probably give some people that they could take away from this and, maybe get a little bit better organized on their own?
Let's see.
Besides, don't communicate through email if you could avoid it.
Um, I think for TC stuff, it's more so just you have to communicate everything that you're talking about outside. If you're not communicating on the same email thread for everyone, make sure that you're letting everyone know what's going on. Because the amount of times that I've seen contracts to get to towards the end of closing, and then people are like, "Oh, wait, we forgot to add this because we this was a conversation that we had on the phone like 2 weeks ago, and we never adjusted it, and it's a big change for everyone." That's that's rough. And then also understanding that if all of the parties keep pushing things back and then trying to get closed on the last week because they realize that they only have a couple of days to close and then all of a sudden they're responding with all this different information and everything, that's really, really hard. Making sure to get your right documents to your
Hmm.
TC, like if you have a business, your articles of organization, your operating agreement, so that the state that things were registered in is correctly, we have the address correct, you have your LLC correct, so that you don't end up running into issues later on down the road just because of an error or a typo.
Yeah.
That's one that I run into.
What kind of systems are you using to do internal team communications?
Um, so currently we're using GroupMe, which I'm not really a fan. I'm looking into setting us up on the Google Chat, I think it's called, but I'm still kind of looking for something that will work between teams. If you have any suggestions on that, I would love to hear it.
I mean, I know a ton of people use Slack. I've
Yeah.
I've used Slack before. It's nice because it's searchable and it's easy to tag people. I would take Slack over Discord because I know a lot of people like Discord a lot too, and I've just never been a fan. Something about the way it's laid out and like the user friendliness of Discord, like I don't think it's all that conducive to people that, especially if they're not tech advanced.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that. I'm like, I'm not techie at all. Discord is not my friend. But I might check out Slack. I've used it before, but didn't really fall in love with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, most things are usually Slack or they're derived from Slack. Like I was telling you about Teamwork earlier, and Teamwork Chat, which is their app that you can buy that goes along with the project management software, which they use for internal team communication, is almost like a carbon copy of Slack. They've
Oh really?
changed user interface to like be on brand, but all the functionality is there just like Slack.
Hmm. Well, that works.
So I feel like it's like you can pay, it's like $4 a month for Slack, or you could pay whatever the hell they charge for that thing. It's like $20 a month, or it's $10 per month per user, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I just don't recommend that people do. I would even take text threads over like group emails, because what always ends up, I'm sure you see this too, right? Like the people that are not tech advanced, they'll just hit reply instead of reply all, and then that's how shit gets lost in the email threads. And it's like, guys, I needed you to do this. I just needed you to do this one thing.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I like Airtable. Airtable's been really, really great because you can set different statuses, and then once you set a certain status, it'll alert the next person down the chain of command for them to look at this, and then they have a chat thing in there for every deal too. So you can go back and look at it, all of the messages and notes.
That's why I like Motion, because as we progress through the stages of our projects, it will, if I have stage one and Amy has stage two and Aiden has stage three, once I complete my task, it'll automatically progress to the next stage through their flows. And then once it's in the next stage, it'll automatically assign her task, and it'll just pop up on her calendar.
Nice. Yeah, that is super nice.
So we're not using it for team communication. It doesn't have that functionality. But what we are doing is we're able to use it to reduce communication by moving through the projects, and also by having our own availability clearly visible.
Hmm. I think
So
one thing that investors should also do is they're gonna hate this, but pick up the phone. Like just picking up the phone and calling and asking questions about whatever's going on eliminates so much mess and static in between, and things don't get lost, and that's a huge thing.
yeah, it is huge. But like you said, they're so busy just trying to, I find, like you said, a lot of them don't even communicate in writing in the first place. There's stages and levels to this, guys. If you are only communicating on the phone, well, how in the hell are you going to remember if you're not writing it down somewhere? Um, and then the next stage would be go to like a group text, or then go to group meet, or then go to Slack, like places where these chats and these channels can be searchable, and you can go back and you can find where other people have tagged, referenced, or uploaded documents for.
Yeah.
Is that something you see too, Cheyenne? Is that like it just gets lost in the sauce when it comes to the communication?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, for TCs, I think it's a little bit different, and maybe my brain just works differently. But I mean, I'm the recipient of all of the information and everything, so I don't necessarily lose a lot of stuff in email because it's mostly all coming to me. But
Hmm.
I can definitely see how in between it gets lost.
Yeah, within the teams.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we brought you here, Cheyenne, because they're not as organized as you are, so we're trying to get them on another level.
I don't know. I don't know. Hire an ops manager, hire a TC.
Hire Cheyenne
Hire me.
or hire me. It doesn't matter at this point. But I think that's what, people don't realize. Like all of your systems, they're all different pieces to a puzzle, right?
Mhm.
and most people are paying and they're having all this overlap. Like I had somebody that they have a Google Drive with a shit ton of space. They still have Dropbox. Why? Like, why are you paying for both?
Does does Dropbox charge?
Yeah,
Dropbox has a subscription.
they've got a free version, but that's not what she has. She has the paid individual version, which is like 120 bucks a year. But you're already paying 21.60 per month per user for Google.
Hmm.
So it's like just understanding how to streamline and work everything together. Like my team in particular, we run off of G Suite and Motion, that's it. So that brings our overhead down to a little bit less than $42 per person per month.
Nice.
But we don't have to have anything else. At least not like at the moment. But it's funny because they'll double pay for functionality sometimes because of like user interface or user friendliness, and then they'll have gaping holes over here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't even count the number of subscriptions that this investor that I work for is has right now. So that's currently what we're trying to do is go through everything and delete and minimize. He's got to be paying like, I don't know, $1,500 a month in subscriptions.
Yeah, for stuff that they probably don't even use.
Yeah, never even touched probably. I think, and honestly, that's a big note for investors too, is just pick something. It works enough until you realize that it doesn't, and then just use that until you really run into hiccups, and then you can move on to something else.
Yeah, they get shopping addiction with subscriptions. They
Yeah.
see, new bright shiny object. Okay, grab this one. Ooh, shiny new object, grab this one. And
Mm-hmm.
then like you said, next thing you know, they have these huge tech stacks that they don't even know how to use, let alone how to use appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know how to use them and your team doesn't know how to use them, like it can be the best, most effective tool in the world that does everything. It can change diapers for you. It doesn't, but if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't do any good. It's about as good as a rock.
Yeah.
I see that too. I had a friend that she had bought the best marketing CRM ever. It was supposed to do everything under the sun. It can do this and that and the other thing. She doesn't even know how to use it.
One thing I think that I might start looking into is hiring a VA just to do my marketing, because that is my absolute not my strong suit. And I ran into one the other day that charges $200 a month and builds these amazing flyers to post. And I'm sure that like with just a little bit of training, she could just start posting on my social media and everything. But that's a huge lead booster, and I don't have to do it, which is huge.
Yeah, anything you can do to get your time back is huge. And that's one of the conversations I had to have today is, like I said, if she has three employees underneath her, and I'm not really an employee, right? I'm here for a temporary stint. Like I
Hmm.
have 12 weeks left. And then after that, like I'm out, I'm gone. And so she's like, well, we have this process. I don't know, should it go to her, her, or her? And I said, well, you just told me that all of them have a very full plate. I said, so who even has any availability left? Like, where are you pulling this time from?
How is
It,
that team going besides that?
I mean, it's interesting. That everybody's super nice and everybody's super good. It's like I said, I think the frustrations just come from the typical like visionary integrator kind of butting heads, right?
So how
It's
many, is it just her, the main investor as the visionary and then other integrators, or what are the roles on her team?
so she's the visionary CEO, founder, whatever you want to call it. And she has in total six people beneath her if you count me. And so she's got like another business coach, she's got a marketing specialist, she's got a client care specialist, she's got an executive assistant, an events planner. Yeah, so that and she's got me doing ops. So my goal is to come in there and get it organized enough that we can get everybody to where they have a relatively balanced plate as far as what they're coming in at. because executive support does like 17 to 25 different tasks per day.
Oh,
So when they turn in their weekly report, it's simply an email where it's like just this huge bulleted list. And like in her last report, the very last line was like, I may be forgetting some things, and if I do, please forgive me. But to my knowledge, this is the most complete list I could come up with.
It's just
And
a task list of everything that she's doing.
of everything she got done that week.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like you gotta you gotta get organized. You gotta have like maybe forms or reports or something that they can submit. And again, like moving your team onto project management is gonna help a lot because they're gonna be able to pull the reports of the
Hmm.
projects that have been done, the tasks that have been completed, the timesheets, like all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. How are you organizing all of your tasks? So, like for us, I just all of the things that this investor was throwing at me of like this has to be done, this has to be done. I just wrote them all out and then went through and highlighted most important, and then next step, next week, this is important, that kind of stuff. So, how did you organize all of that?
I created one project just called weekly to-do list, which has like a whole bunch of miscellaneous tasks. And so what I'll do is when I log into our project management, I can just simply hit play and then I can start on the task and it will record my time
Oh, wow.
since I'm supposed to be doing about roughly 10 hours a week. So it'll log my time. I can pause it, I can stop it. When I hit stop, it'll ask me, would you like to log this time? So I usually do like a 30-minute stint on this task, a 45-minute stint on this task. I'll review these systems for an hour or two. It just depends on what I have on my plate that week. And usually she'll update me and be like, I think this needs to take priority. And it's like, well, that's fine. But if we graduate from that task to this task, like I need you to understand that you're pulling time away from other things that need attention, right? If you have a limited amount of water and you have to water the entire garden, you don't want to overwater one plant and not and underwater another.
Mm-hmm. Dion, I hope I'm saying that right. Dion, um,
Yeah, Dion and John.
Dion. He
I
said
saw
all the tasks in a multi-user database makes it possible to see what team members may be overlooked and not operating in a lane that they're good at. Yeah, that's that's something that we actually ran into really quickly in this team that I've been working on. I and it's so interesting how quickly it gets highlighted too, because you think that people are really good at looking like they're busy, and we thought that this person was doing all of these things, and then when you make an actual task list, then you realize, oh wow, like none of these things are actually getting done, and then you can follow up on that. We were kind of running into an issue again because this person had known this investor for a really long time and saw that she 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 started getting upset because she felt like she was being micromanaged. And I think that once all of these little baby teams, once they reach a certain amount of people and they're reaching a level that's high enough that you start doing all of these things and start having KPIs, like key performance indicators, then they have to be okay with a little bit of adjustment. Because then you start working into, okay, now we're going to put people on payroll and we're going to start tracking everything for people so we can, again, be more efficient.
yeah, I think that's a good point. And I also think John's point up here that he had made about how like a team will get an app and to them it is the next best thing, right? Like it's novel, it's new, it's shiny, it's pretty. But other investors will see that and they'll be like, oh well, if Cheyenne's doing it, then that means I need to do it. Even though they have like no comparative analysis to how different because like you said, you're not tech advanced, but what if you were?
Yeah.
If you are and I'm not, and that's why I always try to give people context. Like even with motion, I tell people, I'm like, look, Calendly is good for most people and what it does and how they utilize it. I said, however, I needed something that was just a little bit more tech advanced, and this had a learning curve. It took me about 7, 8 days to get the hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get the hang of it, I think it's superior, right? It's just adding that context in too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, also, and then to your point, John, I just feel like people will buy these things because they're just hoping the more money I spend on it, the less I have to work on it. And it's just an excuse, like you were saying earlier, Adam, so that they don't have to actually do the work. They just want these things to work out for them. And it doesn't work until you actually take the effort and take responsibility for it.
Yeah. And then most of them will use the excuse like, well, my business is different. No, my business is different is the bullshit line that you give people for I'm making emotional decisions with no level of personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Another one too is I don't remember which big business investor guru said this, but they just said it's not that your business is different. Like, why are you guys trying to invent the wheel when all it's been done so many times and proves that it works over and over and over again? It's not like someone invented it once and then there's not as much money in it. There's more money because now you can learn and piggyback off of what this person did wrong and implement it into your own business.
Yeah, and to your point, it's super easy to look busy. Like this week while the business owner was out of town, I didn't have any of the tools I needed to complete most of the stuff that was on my to-do list. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go through and reorganize the project management. I'm gonna do all my admin work. Well, I ended up logging like 3 hours worth of just responding to emails.
Yeah.
Like it was nuts. But I had to go back through, I had to reread all the SOPs, I had to reread all the previous emails. By the time I did that, I found a bunch of operational gaps. And it's funny because sometimes like we can use that work to either look mega busy when we're not, or we can use that work to find the gaps and actually create something productive.
Yep. Yeah.
You had did y'all have any big operational gaps when you joined that team besides the communication?
Um, on our team, I don't think no. I had to go back and give everybody a new responsibilities list because everyone was kind of doing their best to make sure that this team moved forward, but they were like jumping in between roles so much. So it was just really dividing things up for people, giving people a new like offer letter of asking for what they needed, for what the team needed from them, and then where they wanted to go too, what their Mount Everest was, and then what their goals were and how this company was going to help them pursue that goal. But
Oh God, dude, that is another visionary thing that happens a lot. Is I think that everybody is a flex role. So they're like, cool, well, it'd be like if we had, because the idea of the flex role really came from like football, right? Like you have somebody that can be a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, whatever. Well, functionally, these visionaries come in, they try to build an entire team of that one role
yeah,
that they're like, well, this person can be three different things if they wanted to. This guy's Deion Sanders, like whatever. And they
I
don't
connect really
realize,
well to this guy. I'm like, yeah, because that guy's you.
yeah, they don't realize like you have to have an offensive line, you have to have a quarterback, you have to have a coach. Like you're not even being a good coach because you're not teaching your team what the hell they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you have to do these things to be operationally effective, and that's one thing that Vince Lombardi says. He says that leading by example is not a way to lead; it's the only way to lead.
yeah,
But like you said, most of the visionaries can't stop chasing squirrels long enough to get their work and their projects and their tasks across the finish line. They're also jumping from task to task to task, or role to role to role, or project to project to project.
yeah,
So the team thinks that they have to do that too.
yeah. I think if I was gonna give notes to anybody about helping their business and they were at a point where they needed an operations manager, is number one, figure out how to delegate and how to take responsibility or give responsibility away and let someone else take that off of your plate. You just have to trust that they're gonna people have to either fly or they're gonna fall, right? So you have to give them the opportunity. And then also, oh my god, what was it? Oh, I forgot it. Never mind. It'll come back. But yeah,
But
definitely delegate.
I
Oh,
think
and
it,
then just be able to figure out what it is that what you need. I remember meeting somebody at Squad Up and I was like, okay, hey, you want an ops manager? Cool. What do you need? Like, and he's like, oh, well, I don't even know. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk next week. We'll jump on a thing and just kind of note down what things that you run into throughout the week that would take time off of your plate. Give me those things next week. Well, what do you need? I don't know. So, and it was like that for 3 weeks with no change. And if you're gonna be like that, then you're right. Like your time is gonna get stuck and you're never gonna be able to move forward. You're never
Yep.
gonna be able to grow.
Nope. It is impossible to scale that way. You and I have seen it countless times together on calls that we were on.
Mhm.
What do you need? Uh, well, what do you have? Can we start there? Like, what do you have in place? Uh,
Yeah.
and like people want to sit there like drooling monkeys, and it's like, guys, you have to. That is the fundamental like role of an integrator is to be that coach, right? It's to ask the question like, what do you have? AKA like, where are you? What do you like? What plateau have you hit?
Hmm.
What do you need? Like, what can I give you? What tools, what assistance, what level of guidance do you need to get to the next level or to reach that next summit?
Hmm. Yeah. You gotta know your own role before you define others. Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one suffering through those calls. It
Yeah.
sounds like you've had them on your own as well as when we were on those together.
Well, there was another TC that she just got hired on as an operations manager, and this investor he's getting her a flat sum a month. And I remember she was asking on our TC weekly Pacific Coast meeting, oh, like I don't know what to do, like I'm just kind of hanging out. And if you're in that role, you also have to be able to take a look at things and see what's going on, where are they at, what are they hiccuping on, um, where you can step in, and you have to be able to make decisions for other people. That's a really, really hard one too, because no one wants to step on other people's toes or like make the wrong decision. But if it's a decision that's going to help them and you're not like costing them a bunch of money or something without their approval, just do it.
Yeah. More often than not, they're going to thank you later for it anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. I got a fun one for you, Cheyenne. SOPs, because I know nobody has them.
Yeah.
What's your experience with that? What have you seen? Like, what, you know, do they even have a standardized like process in their mind as to how to do it, or is it just like whichever way the wind blows today?
I think that investors do, but they don't name it. They don't actually put tasks or the levels in their SOP. They just automatically move through it and it works. But then when they try to train someone else to do it, they don't know how to convey all of those steps, and that's where it falls apart. So I think that's a big task for operators too, is like real get in there and start putting tasks like that down so that someone has a list to follow, because I don't think investors are able to do it. It just comes naturally.
I think I told you what the cheat code is, right? You
Hmm.
use Loom.
I use what?
Do
Loom?
you Loom? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's super nice. They just started being able to record or
Loom
uh
AI.
oh yeah.
Loom AI will automatically turn it into an SOP for you if you want to, or into a how-to list.
Yeah, that's super nice. Yeah.
I
Even
did it.
ChatGPT, I love ChatGPT. um, but just putting an email or something in there and
Mhm.
just immediately making a task list, it's incredible.
What I like too is with Motion you can forward it to its particular email address and it will automatically create a task for you on your calendar.
Oh wow. That's super nice.
So guys, I hate to tell you all this, but AI is here to stay and it's here to help you. Um, Pod and I were just talking before I hopped in here about, he's working on some AI chatbots and he'll be doing, I think, a AI chatbot, or he'll be doing a bot workshop next weekend on Saturday. So I'll be there too, hanging out. But AI is here, guys, and it's here to help you if you're willing to accept it and use it to the fullest of its capabilities.
I'm excited for it. I think it'll be really nice.
I mean, I think a lot of it's kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's certain things it's just why do I need this? I don't need AI to do art for me. Like that seems senseless. But like I said, I let AI manage my calendar. Like you said, I use ChatGPT too. And now we use Loom AI because Loom is what writes it. So when you do the screen recording, it will automatically generate an SOP, and then at the bottom of the SOP, it will also provide the link in the SOP to the screen record that you
Oh
record.
wow, that's super nice.
Yeah, it's super convenient.
That's awesome.
Chris also said that you got to know your own role before you can define others, and he's right. Like you as the entrepreneur, whatever that is, you have to know. Like I know how to do sales and marketing, and I'm relatively good at it. My specialty though is ops and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So in most businesses, that's what I tend to stick to is ops and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, sometimes I find myself on that other side. So you have to be able to find your role, and then that way the roles underneath you, you can better define and how they can support you, which is also one of the conversations we had to have today. Like when you only have three people underneath you and they're not department heads, when you're the department head, like guess what? You need to start training them to the
Yeah.
point where one day you can officially give them that title that they are the department head and they just report to you.
Oh, nice. So Chris says he does automation and defines whatever people need. That's super nice. I can't even imagine how helpful that is for people.
Dude, Chris is the GHL wizard. Like almost anything you can think of that GHL can do, he can build it out.
What is GHL?
Go high level.
Oh,
In fact, he has his own he has Podimation, which is built on a go high level marketing account. He said you don't know how much people don't know. Believe me, I know how much
oh,
people
we
don't.
know.
Cheyenne and I know. You know, Chris. Most people don't know. We have a pretty decent idea that there's a lot that they don't know.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's all good. That's why we're here, right? Like that's why we get together and that's why we do these things and that's why we keep the recordings for YouTube. So people can go back and they can listen to them.
I just hope that as we move forward with Pace's community and in the creative real estate space, just people will get more comfortable saying that they don't know how to do stuff and asking questions. Because then we can all move forward together and it doesn't become weird and everyone's trying to prove that they know something and they're a great partner.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big one. And I think on the flip side of that, understanding that you need to have some level, like some integrator tendencies, right?
Hmm.
There's the ratio is like 3 to 1. So there's three visionaries for every one integrator. But you don't have to be half and half like I am. Like I'm almost equal parts both. However, you do probably have to be like 70-30. Because even like a really like a good CEO is not a straight visionary.
Yeah.
They they have to have some integrator tendencies in order to get things accomplished. Um, but like you said, similarly, and what my hope for the community is that they will stop leaning on that crutch of like, oh, well, I'm just so visionary. Like, guess I didn't get this done today. Like, whoopsie.
Well, it's ambition, discipline, ambition, discipline.
Yeah, discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
At this point, some of the visionaries in the community lean on that as a crutch, almost like astrology girls. Like, whoops, I hit a curve today. I guess that's because I'm an asparagus.
Yeah.
But I mean, integrators come with their downsides too. Like, I don't know about you, but most of the ones I know, they get sometimes almost too bogged down in the weeds.
Hmm. Well, I think a lot is expected of them, and especially going into a team where your role isn't very defined until you define it and you hire other people. It's tough. And if you don't know how to take one thing at a time as you slowly chip away at a big project and this giant mountain, you're gonna get bogged down and you're gonna get overwhelmed and you're not gonna have a good time.
Okay, I've got a good one for you. how can visionaries better define what they need from their integrators as the integrators are coming into the teams, right? Because like you and I said, we both have experienced this. We're like, "What do you have?" And they're like, "I have this." And you're like, "Okay, cool. What do you need?" "I don't know." So
Um, I'm a big like pen and paper person, so I think just having a whiteboard or a piece of paper or something and saying, okay, here's what I want, here's my goal. Okay, what right now is what needs to happen in order for me to get these goals? Like this investor that I'm working for right now, he's creating a mentorship. What needs to happen in order to create this goal?
mm,
Well, like we have to gather people and I have to create the course. From those two things, I can do everything else. Like
yeah.
I can set up the website, I can write your course outline, set up marketing and get your merch for you and get a name. I can get all of that stuff going, but I have to have like what have you done and what kind of needs to happen in order to move forward with your goal? And then these things can go.
Chris made a good point too. He said that your integrator also has to have the visionary tendencies. And I agree. Like your integrator needs to have some visionary tendencies because that's how the integrator deciphers what the visionary is trying to pass down, right? Like the goal is the visionary has their head so far up in the clouds, they're thinking of all these big crazy ideas. Like I said earlier, they're like, I'm gonna go acquire $100 million worth of real estate next year, or I'm gonna get to 100 grand a month in gross rents or net rents or whatever their crazy audacious goal is. The integrator has to then be able to translate that and bring it down to a level where we can reverse engineer it and we can communicate
Hmm.
that to the team.
Yeah. The reverse engineering is incredibly important.
Okay, so let's go with that then. If there's a visionary right now and they're stuck, they're like, okay, cool. Well, I'm doing 2 deals a month, I'm doing 4 deals a month, but I want to get to 100 grand a month. What would you start to tell those people to get there to begin that reverse engineering process?
So if you're looking at 100 deal or you're looking at 100 grand a month in rent or whatever, I would tell them that you have to calculate out how many houses is this really add up to on average, and then kind of work it down from there. So if you do, well, I don't even know how many houses that would be. Let's just we'll do 50
Yeah.
or I don't know. Whatever, you have your number. I'm not good at math, clearly. But you have your number and then say, okay, break down your team into goals. So this month we'll do 2 houses of acquisition. Next month we'll do 4 and keep moving up. But if you just have this blanket number, then you don't have any goal for your team to try to reach.
Yeah, because I see that a lot. I see, like you said, if the goal is 50 houses to get to 100K a month in rents, they're like, cool, well, I need to hit 50K by the end of the year. So we're just gonna go. We're gonna go at it, whatever the hell that means. We're gonna run, and they have no idea where they're running to
Yeah.
or running from. I see that a lot too.
Yep.
Mhm. So, what else the big things are you working on right now, Cheyenne?
Um, so
Besides,
I'm trying to get this mentorship going for this investor. That's going to be super exciting. This investor's part of the owners club and he's been working on a mentorship for a long time. It's basically the same thing that Pace does, but he also involves a lot of private money funding and he trades notes on properties. So basically he will have build a relationship with a lender, a gator lender or anything up. I've seen people lend like $150,000, $200,000 with him.
mm,
So he'll have a property, he'll acquire it and use people's funds to close on the property, and then they will have a promissory note in place and a deed of trust on the property that will have to be paid off within 6 months to a year. And then when that time comes of him needing to pay this person off, he will have acquired another property on the side that he can lend against. And he'll basically have someone else come and replace the note that this person had, pay off this person so that they have their funds ready to put on a different property and just back and forth like that. And I think he has like 25 properties so far, that he's done this with, and he's been lending like this for 5 years, 10 years or so. I don't know, but it's been crazy. So trying to learn all of that, and then getting into his business and figuring out where all the holes are, has been crazy. Because it was just him and his girlfriend trying to handle property management, building this mentorship, acquisitions, getting deals, marketing, everything like that. And now we jumped up to a team of 13, and making sure that everyone understands what it is that is needed from them, and then where they're going and what the vision is, it's been fun. It really has been fun. So
Sounds like a lot of moving parts,
it is, but it's a
especially
challenge.
when you're on two different project management softwares.
Yeah, it's all right. The TC, so he has a TC team obviously that handles all of his acquisitions, and then they'll do work for other people as well, and then bring it back into his business. And the TC team is great. Like they're really on top of their stuff. They're very organized, and it's always nice to jump back into that, being that's where my background is, and then having this super organized little piece of the company, and then jumping back into all of the rest of the mess.
And you're like, ah, shit.
But it's good.
Sounds good. Sounds like it was a good placement for you.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
I met
glad you
that guy at Squad Up too, so that was really nice.
Well, I'm excited to see when he does release that mentorship. So I have noticed there's a few people coming out with their own, we had talked to somebody that was they already have their own. They're just looking to boost their marketing and their systems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know there's a few already in SubTo. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the real estate education space starts to spread out and disperse in the same way that, the investment space has, right? Because when SubTo started, it was only wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's how many different acquisition strategies, how many different exit strategies? Like it's nuts.
Yeah. No, it's been really good. I'm excited. Does
Like I said,
anybody in the chat have any questions or anything that you guys are going through on in your teams and in your business?
yeah, guys, feel free to ask Cheyenne all kinds of questions. I usually do. You've always been good at asking questions though too. Like, so for those of you that don't know, like Cheyenne and I were gonna do an integrated team together, and we were working on it for the last couple months, and we recently, you got kind of pulled away with this new ops placement that you have. Um, But that's one quality I did always pick up on, with it. You were always good at asking the questions and getting the information that we needed in order to, make sure all the details were recorded, the proposals were sent out, and that they were accurate.
Mm-hmm. Chris says he's just dropping his 2 cents.
Chris does what I do on his Zooms. He's like, I just show up to add value wherever I can and bug people. Which, you know what, Chris? This Thursday, Integrators Unite, right? So, yep. He said, yeah. Um, Chris does host the Integrators Unite with Rachel Schwartz and Ryan Love, and we were talking about that. Him and I were talking about that off the chat earlier, because Ryan recently opened his own school community. And we were talking about like what Rick's doing and what he's not doing. There's a lot of really, really good integrators in the community, and they're all up to something. Rick's no longer doing integrated matchmaking. Ryan's thinking about picking that up actually. And Ryan has a background similar to us. He's more of like an ops manager.
Oh, really? I think that ops manager is going to be a title that is going to be very, very popular, especially after the owners club things this year.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do. And I know that Pace and Molly and all of them, they were putting out course material to train people how to be ops managers.
Are you also friends with people that are going through Jesse Stanton's cohort right now?
Mm, I don't think so.
So Jesse has his own coaching program, education platform, and all that kind of good stuff too. And I'm friends with a bunch of the people that are in his programs. Um, and that's like one of the first things they teach people how to do is to find an underwriter and ops manager. So I've been hearing the word ops manager so many times lately, I'm almost sick of it. And I am one.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see because, like you said, so many people were used to just running around blind and doing whatever, like whatever came first. But I think it's going to be good that more people are going to get ops managers, probably underwriters. I think systems architect is going to be a title that you'll probably see come up eventually because
Okay.
there's different flavors of integrator, like we've talked about before off camera.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like I said, like Ryan's somebody that I feel like I can commiserate with on the ops side, but Ryan's not who I would go to build out my CRM. Chris is. I would totally go to Chris any day of the week to build out CRMs or automations or workflows or like I said, even bots.
Mm-hmm.
Or similarly, like Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse's not ops minded at all.
Yeah.
Love him to death, but that's not his speed. Like he does really, really well with, building out the systems and doing like, dude, he had a field day when I first gave him the login, the Hexamatic. He just went nuts.
Yeah, that is not me. I'm not techy enough for that.
Again, it's not really me either, but I know just enough to be dangerous. And I think, again, that speaks to what we were saying earlier about like if you're an integrator, you need to have some visionary traits. And if you're a visionary, you need to cultivate some integrator traits because otherwise it's the same thing in business if you hire like a marketing manager. If you don't know how to run paid ads and you let somebody convince you that they know how to run paid ads, it's going to be a very, very expensive lesson.
Yeah.
What would you also say to people, Cheyenne, that they're coming up, maybe they think that they're an integrator or they think that they're an ops manager and they're just looking to get started?
I would just kind of look at the things that you do in your own business or in your own life that bring you joy the most. Like you were talking about earlier, like I can market and I can do sales and I like aspects of both of those things, but that's not what really interests me and like really gets that's not what I want to spend 4 hours straight doing. I want to spend 4 hours straight organizing and working out business flows and systems.
Yeah, well, I said, I think you're like me. You like to see the entire layout and how all the systems like work together and they fit together and find the overlaps and the gaps.
Yeah, I would much rather delegate tasks like that. Like, hey, I need you to build this system. I need you to market. Here are the flyers and everything. Let me go get my flyers from the VA, and then here you go. But yeah, I like the delegation and the organization.
Yeah, and like we were talking about in the beginning of this, like building the teams, coaching the teams up, making sure that they find their roles, building out the fucking lanes because nobody wants to do that. Like we said, it's like, oh, well, I have three people that work underneath me. Well, what do they do? Well, this person does a little marketing, and this person does a little this, and this person does a little that. And it's like, no, 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 no. This person does this person does this, and this person does this.
Yep.
What other kind of stuff are you seeing right now on that side? Anything else that kind of stands out to you?
Um, I don't I don't think so, honestly. I think we kind of went over everything that I've been running into. I've only been on this team for about 2 months, so
I wasn't sure if there was also other stuff that you saw in your TC work from other teams over roughly like the last year or so.
as far as what you mean.
Like I said, just in general, like systems, gaps, overlaps, communication, job roles, responsibilities.
I think on the TC side, there used to be a big issue when the TC course was launched and everyone started getting familiar with the top tier TCs of what it is that people are going to, what their responsibilities are and what TCs will do and what they won't do, and what distinguishes them between real estate transaction coordinators and what top tier TCs are. Because real estate coordinators, they charge a bunch less, they know less, and they write contracts for the realtors because they have insurance, all these different things. But I think recently I haven't really run into the problem of expectations of investors for TCs. So it's been good.
Cass also said that she's spinning her wheels on that. She's tried to build lanes that they want to do everything. Just comes back to finding the right people who know what they want and what they're good at. Cass, you can come off mute if you want to, and we can talk about it for a little bit. Because I mean that is something that, sometimes that is true. People do want to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's up, girlfriend?
Hi, how we doing? Happy Sunday.
Glad you finally made it back. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
I was out meeting with a potential new dog sitter for when I go out of state in a couple of weeks. So now
Nice.
here. Yeah. I'm glad you send out those text messages. It's really nice. So then I'm like, oh yeah, that's today. Because usually Sundays I just get really busy doing stuff and then I forget.
So talk
Sorry.
to us, dude. What are you running into on your team?
So here's what I'm trying to do, right? For anybody who doesn't know, I have a 12-bedroom rooming house in Alaska, and I rent it out on a retail basis, room by room, week by week. And I'd like to build out that portfolio, not like really pad splits. It's not like a Frankenstein house. Like it has large living areas, large kitchen, all of that jazz. It was already operating as a rooming house before I picked it up. So I've never been through like a conversion, but essentially I'm looking for single family and small multifamily homes that I can run as transitional living, group living, for VA folks, for sober living, those demographics I'm still working out on all encompassing. So what I need, right, is for people to bring me good deals. So the folks I was working with said they wanted to be the ones to reach out to wholesalers, tell them they were buyers, underwrite the deals, and I'm the operations side of things where I'm finding the operators, I'm marketing to all the case managers, I'm doing all the things to set up the A team. I have a decent amount of contacts here in Alaska, but it's just not a big enough market to really scale to any kind of proportion that I would want to. So I also am working in Indiana. The problem is like they said that they were underwriters, but they don't. They aren't. And then like we're sitting there with like a inbox full of deals from wholesalers, and none of them are getting touched, or they want me to walk them through the underwriting, and I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do it. So it's one of the reasons why I don't have a wholesale team, because having to like help everybody on all of those specific things, like as much as my ego hates to say this, like I don't want to lead teams. I don't. Like I want to be a performer. I can help close deals and structure deals. And then I can make that sucker go. Like that's where I need to be at. You know what I'm saying? And you get people who say they are doing this and doing that, but then they aren't. And then they're like, yeah, so I was calling case managers, or I was talking to private money lenders. And I was like, well, what about the thing that you were supposed to be doing? Because like I'm also doing that. So so that's the tough part, is like, we thought that everybody kind of had a defined role, and then it just seems like I don't know. I think the easy answer is that's not the role they're supposed to be in, and they're just not the right partner for me.
What do
Yeah.
you think, Shane?
No, yeah, definitely. I think that sometimes when people either leave their W-2s or they want to get into this space so bad that they'll jump on any role that is kind of offered to them, and then they do it for a little bit, they realize they either don't like it, or it's confusing, or it overwhelms them, and then everything just starts slipping through the cracks.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's hard.
Yeah, and it's like It was like, hey, let's find a different spot for you, and we can find the other person who can do this part. And they're like, yeah, for sure. But then like the next day they're like, I'm gonna underwrite a bunch. And I'm like, oh my frick.
It's the I can learn it mentality. Like, oh, well, I don't know how to do this thing, but I can learn.
Right.
I'm smart enough. And it's like, no, dude, drop the fucking ego. Like, you suck. It's okay.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough to try to help people come to that realization. Like I've had the same conversation 8 different ways, and it's like, and it all comes back to it still being in the wheel spinning situation. And it's like, man, like I don't want to be hard on anybody or be mean or whatever, but sometimes it's like you kind of just have to be like, I just don't know what else to say. Like this
Yeah.
isn't your zone, like this isn't your zone. And although you told me it was something that you were doing in the past before we started working together, it's very clear that you weren't, so, and that's all right, man. Like let's find a different role for you, or let's just move on, and you can go find somebody who wants to hold your hand through every step of the process, because it's not me. Like it's not me. I don't want to do that.
Well, and I
Cheyenne, you
think so
might have
many of these
nicer advice.
sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I was just saying, Cheyenne, you might have nicer advice than what I would have.
I don't know, man. My patience is getting thin. But
Yeah.
I think that goes back to like all of these people, they really want to be in this space so bad, but then they just insist on beating their head against the wall on things that
Mhm.
they don't want to do. And like if you're not good at underwriting and you don't want to spend your free time underwriting because it's not interesting to you, that's fine. And there's so many different avenues for you in this space. And
Mhm.
but yeah, I just think a lot of people are just, I don't know. They're
Yeah,
stubborn.
it's like they get in and then they want to just like do what you're doing instead of what they said they wanted to do, and then have you do what you didn't want to do, and that was the whole point.
I think it's just because you're making it look easy.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, yeah,
Chris
but
just said that. He said people think it's going to be easy, and it never
yeah,
is. It's
right.
it's gonna be easy to learn. Like if Johnny can learn underwriting, I can learn underwriting too.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, if I have to spend 3 hours a day looking at your Loom videos, trying to figure out how you were underwriting this or where you even came up with it. And it's like, and you're just looking at an acquisition piece. You're not looking at the actual hold piece of it. How is this going to look on the refi and whether or not we can actually hold this property? And I have to explain every single one, like thing to you. Like that's like, listen, we all paid a shitload of money to be in a mentorship that teaches you all of this. I got no reason to be like your teacher, So it's like, it's okay. Just drop it, man. Like there's people out there who are already doing this. They love that shit. They love spreadsheets. They love numbers. I want to throw my computer out the window. Like I can do it, but I want to throw my computer out the window, and that's not where my strength is. Like I don't want to be doing that. I'm not super fast at it, and it's just not my lane, and then yeah, just trying to plug those people in. So I don't know how to, maybe I need to figure out how to politely help people find their lane, but I also don't think that's my job either. I mean,
Well,
I'm definitely somebody who gives back and wants to help people get their deals and everything, but I've spent so much time with newer people, and some of them are ready to take action, right? But most of them, I feel like I speak to 85 times, and we're like answering the same questions over and over and over again, answering the same questions over and over and over again, trying to help them understand they're working on things that are not playing to their strengths. And then I feel a little disenfranchised by the whole thing, especially being in a leadership position. I want to help them, but I almost feel like I'm doing them a disservice by just continuously answering the same questions and being like, you have to take some action on this. Like we're so hypothetical all the time, and like you're never going to do it if you don't just do it.
I think that's a big thing of leadership is realizing when you're dragging someone through a course and trying to teach them the things that they should know versus, oh, they really, really want this, they really want to learn this. Oh, here's a tool. And then they eat that tool, they use that tool, they go through that tool, and then they want the next thing, and then you drop a new thing for them. But those are the people that I want to work with, and those people are very prevalent. It's all you can always tell a winner from the very, very beginning. You're never wondering if they're a winner, but it's the people that you have to force through and drag through that they're always going to slow you down until they decide that they want to take responsibility for themselves.
Right. Yeah,
That's
it's
my
so
advice
true.
to you is gonna be, have you tried hurting their fucking feelings yet?
Well, and it always comes different from a woman, because I can be kind of cutting and I try to not be, and I think that comes out disingenuous or whatever. But I've asked this question before. I'm like, I feel like you're looking for all these other resources from like less valuable places to like you're telling me that you're trying to learn underwriting from some person who hasn't done it a lot, and I'm like, is it because you feel intimidated to go into the SubTo underwriting Zooms for the people who know what the fuck they're doing and they actually get paid like $10,000 a month to be there? Like, it's not just a volunteer position. Like, why aren't we in those? Like, be in there, have them help you with the stuff. And like, I just haven't spent the time looking for the Zoom link, and then I almost threw my phone out the window.
How long have you been like spinning your wheels like this, Cass?
For a little bit. I mean, I've been through so many different partners, and I've been through like partners with people I've worked with in the past, and they were fucking killing it. And then when it came time to, uh, they wanted to break off and do some of their own things, they just literally crumbled. And I'm like, I can't motivate you every day, bro. You're my partner. Like, if we're gonna bring on more people in the future to delegate to, those are the people we got to motivate. I'm like, I can't be holding you up. Like, you're my partner. You were killing
So
it
are you
last week on
spinning
this team.
are you spinning your wheels more in building the team itself or finding a
I,
partner? Because those are two
I,
different things, right? If the partner would be
yeah,
your equivocal, that would be your peer, that's your ride or die, that's your person that
yeah,
you're trying to do business with. And because ultimately it sounds like y'all have two different standards or two different ideas, or they just don't have the experience that they say that they do.
yep,
In that
yep,
case, it's like swipe left, get another partner. But if
yep.
it's a team issue, then it's a culture issue. And then I would say you have to cut the cancer and then just replace them with the people that actually know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I don't think I've gotten to the point of having the right partners to actually build out a team and delegate from there. And I think honestly, I would probably, I want to build out the team where I guess I know the people that are, I know the things I don't want to do. I don't want to be underwriting deals on the acquisition side, and I don't want to be dealing with contractors because I don't do well enough to speak their language, right? So if I had somebody who was strong in that side, then the rest is cake. But yeah, I keep getting these partners that tell me that they're strong in these things, and then they're sending me like, deals that are 92% of fucking ARV with $150,000 of rehab needed. They're like, it's creative, bro. And I'm like, throw my phone out the window. Throw my phone out the fucking window. I saw something, what Chris say? Oh yeah, and they just go to being a connector. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think
Then
we've
they
all
suck at
beat
that
that
too.
dead horse in this Zoom 1,000 times. Like, get out of town. If you don't know how to do deals, you should not be a connector. Period.
Yeah,
Bar none.
and then they just suck at that too. And that's why we're in the space that we're in with connectors now.
Right. Giving us all bad names. And it's like, y'all need to have some, if you've never done a deal and you don't know how to look at a deal, like, why the frick are you connecting deals? Because then you're just going to find two other idiots that are going to do a shitty deal together.
Chris said everyone
Yeah,
knows
you're
someone, so
100% right.
everyone's a connector, and he's 100% right. Everyone's
Right.
like, "Oh, well, I'm really good at networking, so I'm a connector." And it's like, have you ever vetted a deal? Have you ever underwritten a deal? Have you ever found a lender, talked to a lender, managed
Yeah,
communications?
yeah, I think they're mixing up like decent connecting with introductions. Like, I make introductions to people all the time. Like, hey, you guys are in the same space, just meet. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not getting money off of that or whatever, but I am building deeper relationships with other people by trying to help them in their business. And it takes like a text message, right? It's like, hey, I know somebody who's doing this. Maybe you guys should talk.
So
Never in my life I'm gonna be like, go give your money to this person. Stupid.
what's
Speaking of,
up, Chris?
I actually know a pretty good underwriter, and that's what he focuses on. And I know that he's trying to build out a team as well. So I took down your number, but I'll text you his info. And maybe
Okay.
you guys can.
Good. Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I've been speaking with Lottie, and I know Ken Reed I've been working with for years, but he's decided to only be on larger multifamily. I'm going to hit up some of the OCJV guys. I guess they might be interested too, but it's always good to talk to as many people as possible and find that right fit. So I'd appreciate it.
Does
Well,
does what we said make sense though, Cass? Like if you're looking for a partner, then it's a partner issue, and if you're looking for a team, then it's a culture issue.
Yeah, yeah, that does make sense for sure.
It'd be worth it
I
to
think
just
my first
those Zooms as well, and then just see who shows up consistently.
to go what Zooms?
The
The underwriting
Zooms.
Zooms? Yeah, truth be told. Truth be told, that is a good point. I know it's like either way, I'm gonna have to do it before I don't have to do it. I felt like I was doing it for so long. Damn it.
What's up, Chris? You got your hand raised, brother. What you got?
No, I was just gonna say, like I think the whole connector thing, everyone takes it the wrong way is because like if Cassandra needs a contractor for whatever reason, and I know one, and if I play that connector role and she wants she wants my contractor herself, most people now playing that bad connector role is like, yeah, I can hook you up with them. What's in it for me? Now, I want like $500 out of it, and this and that, and that's why I said, we're all connectors. We all know somebody, but like what you guys were actually talking about there is about the deal. Hey, yeah, I need a good underwriter itself. Hey, yeah, I know this underwriter over here, because at that time, if I really hold out on that GC because Cassandra doesn't want to pay me, well, I'm being a bad service to two people, Cassandra and that contractor, because that contractor needs the work, can use the work, and yet Cassandra needs something. So, there's no reason to be in the middle there, for something like that. But I think that's where these people are just taking it too far, as being that connector instead of appropriately like, hey, being that connector. Hey, Cassandra, I know you got that deal. Hey, I know Cheyenne's got money and stuff. If it happens to work out, let me make a couple bucks off that. Because otherwise Cassandra was going to lose that deal, and Cheyenne was there. But I knew that's that connector part where you can quote quote make money on, not the other way.
Right.
That was just my 2 cents.
If you can solve a huge problem, like if you can find me a buyer, I'll pay you a connector fee. That's fine.
Cool.
But yeah.
So yeah, Cass,
Yeah, 100.
I think that's where you're at, Cass. You just gotta figure out like what kind of qualities you want in a partner, figure out what you're really, really good at, and then find the complementary skills. Like I said, it sounds like it sounds like they're telling you they have complementary skills, and then they have similar aspirations. And it's very easy to see that those two things are not in alignment.
Yep, absolutely. And then I just got to get over the hurting people's feelings. Because I mean, I've told these people, like, I just don't think we're best aligned as partners. We just want to do too many of the same things. And then they're kind of trying to figure out how to, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm trying to figure out how to
Just
nicely.
give them a few strikes, dude. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be 1. It could be 4. It could be 7. It doesn't matter. Like come up with a number of like violations. Like these are gross safety violations, ethics violations, like whatever it is. Usually safety and ethics I fire on immediately. Like fuck it, dude, you're gone.
Yeah,
I don't
100%.
shit. I don't need to know who you I don't need to know I don't need to hear your boohoo story. Like you're done for later.
Yeah, because I'm already in a partnership where my partner did compliment me well, but then all of a sudden she was like, fuck everything in Alaska. I hate the state. It gives me PTSD, and is like completely checked out. So it's like now I have to run everything is basically on me. Like she'll get around to it, but you don't run business by getting around to something a week later. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
it's tough because it's like, and then I have to pay you, and it's like she doesn't even care really about the cash flow. She doesn't care at all. And I'm like, I'm trying to replace you. I mean, but shit, it's been like 3 weeks for her to even go get an attorney to review this like dissolution contract. So I don't want to end up in that position again for sure. So I'm definitely more willing to be like, I'm not trying to make this work. If it ain't working, I'm not trying to make it work. It's just silly.
What if you switched it around, and instead of saying, hey, I need someone who does all these things, what if you said, hey, who needs someone that does your things?
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be better. So, because you're not going to have a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, like I can do those things. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I've put that out there before too. I think it's just, we're fishing in like this giant barrel, like within our communities. And I don't know, I could do more on that. Honestly, I could do more on that. It's really just me slacking at the end of the day to find the right people.
So, Cass, here's how to hurt people's feelings 101. You ramp it up slowly, just like Cheyenne was talking about earlier, reverse engineering goals, right? Like
Mhm.
if you and I are on a team, like if you're working for me or even if we're partners, I'm gonna be like, hey Cass, I saw something, do you mind if we have a chat about it? And you'll be like, yeah, sure. So we have a chat about it. But again, we're assuming that this is the same thing and it's a recurring problem. So it's like, hey, Cass, I saw this. Like, we need to have a chat about this. This has already happened once. We're like, let's sit down, let's figure this out. Let's not have to worry about this again. You're like, yeah, okay, like I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Like, wonderful. Hey, Cass, this is the third time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to continue to like have these meetings. This is starting to get a little bit tiresome. You're like, yeah, okay, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Well, by the time you get past three, it goes from like, all right, look, we need to have a chat to like, we need to have a come to Jesus talk. Like, listen here,
Yeah.
motherfucker, let's sit down because it is either like we figure this shit out now or we're
Yeah.
never going to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to figure it out after we purchase a property. So there's that.
Right.
So that's
So,
why I'm like, let's just not do it anymore because it's already silly. And I don't want to end up in a similar position where I resent you for, not holding up your end of the bargain of taking care of this business.
right. And so, similarly, like you've pointed out before, Cash, you're like, well, you can be a little bit testy sometimes. It's like, yeah, because oftentimes I find myself repeating myself over and over and over and over again. And when I do
Mm-hmm.
that, I feel unheard. And when I feel unheard, I feel unvalued or undervalued. And you can see where where that rabbit hole leads.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, I think you just have to kind of be okay and give yourself that level of permission to, if it ends up having to hurt somebody's ego temporarily, like that's what winners end up doing. Like look at if you ever watched The Last Dance and everybody talks all kinds of shit on Michael. They all talked about how rude of a teammate he was, how he was a dickhead, he was a tyrant. And he started crying at one point in an interview. He's like, dude, I just wanted to win. And like I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted them to play at the same standard I wanted to play at. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
was. And I
Yeah.
think
Makes sense.
fundamentally, if they are a winner, they'll understand that. And if they're not, well, they're a fucking loser and they probably don't need to be on your team anyway.
Right.
What's
Truth be told.
crazy is it sounds like for your team, you already have the deals. You just need them to be worked through.
Yeah, and it's really not, it's not a team. It's, I have somebody who like I said, we were kind of dating on a partnership and they wanted to hire an operations manager. And I'm like, awesome. For what? We don't have any systems in place. Like, what are you going to have them do? So that was the other thing of like building out the lanes, right? It's like, so all right, there's a strategy out there where it's like, hey, you want to have a business and you don't want to do anything in it, just go hire an operations manager off Indeed and have them underwrite and do all the things and then manage all your properties and manage like everything that goes into onboarding a property. And hey, by the way, pay them $1,000 a house or for each deal closed. And I'm like, who the fuck is going to do that? So like that was, I'm like, okay, they can't do all of those things. Or I mean, I guess they could, but I don't think you're paying them $1,000 a house.
I've heard
So
the team advice. What's your
I'm like,
special gas like acquisitions?
so, all right. I mean, I've been through many different types of whatnots, right, throughout my real
Yeah,
estate
but
career.
what's your superpower?
My superpower is on the operational side. So, I have my short-term rentals, I have my boarding house, getting those procedures in place, through each iteration, getting better and better, finding the right people, right? And I want to have the sober living co-living facilities, right? So that's my end and networking with them. I can close deals, I can negotiate creative deals, cash deals. But I'm not trying to be a cold caller. I'm not trying to lead manage. I'm not trying to underwrite. I'm not trying to do all those things. If they need me to close the deal, I can close the deal. That's totally fine. Um, but I'm on the after acquisitions piece, or
Cool.
the
Then go
raising the
find
money and
somebody.
then putting it on board afterwards.
So go find somebody that does acquisitions and probably find somebody that can raise capital. Because those three things are pretty much the only three
Oh
things
yeah.
you can get a deal done.
Yep.
So like that's what we're doing right now. We're being the capital raisers for teams that they already have their ops manager in place and they have
Mhm.
the acquisitions manager in place. So
Mhm.
if you're the ops manager, I wouldn't even consider closing. Like, no, I need an acquisitions manager that is good at closing because I need them to be able to stay in their lane so I can stay in my lane.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I offer the fact that I can do it because I can. Like, I would hate for them to not close a deal that's a great deal because they're just not experienced enough. But I mean, if they could at least bring me a cash flow neutral long-term rental, that's all I fucking need to get it going. You know? But they want me to look at all this stupid shit that they're looking at and it makes no sense. So I'm just beating a dead horse now. We're just talking in circles.
Okay,
That's
so
why I
here's
was
the
spinning my
secret
wheels.
to Cass.
I know it's finding the right people. I just haven't found them at this point.
Yeah, but Cass, guess what?
Hmm.
If they're good at acquisitions and they're a good
Yeah.
closer, that means they're good at all the other pieces. So don't
That's
even
very fair.
offer that. Don't even offer. Be like, no, I need you to be a good closer.
That's fair.
That's a
That is fair.
non-negotiable because if they're a good closer, that means they're probably a good underwriter. If they're probably a good underwriter, then they're probably good at structuring deals.
That's very true. That's
You
very
need
true.
a certain level of experience, and it sounds to me like you're taking one piece out of their lane and you're putting it in your lane, and then they think, well, they're like, well, if she has one piece, maybe I can get her to help me with all these other pieces, and then that's where that line between the two lanes gets blurred.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Like I get it. Like I said, I want to help you out too, and I can do some of those things. That doesn't mean it's where my time is best suited. If you're
Right.
slacking, you're struggling, you're sick, you're hurt, whatever, like yeah, cool, I'll step in. But that's not my role.
That's a good point.
So hopefully that helps you out a little bit, gives you a little direction, some
Indeed.
perspective.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Missed you.
Miss you.
Oh, thanks, guys. Dion and John just said thanks for putting this together. Um, Cheyenne, do you have some kind of final notes or final ideas that we can start to kind of tie a bow on this?
I don't just I think just hiring the right people and keeping an eye and on who can be a winner and is a winner from the start and not trying to make people winners. And then just learning how to delegate and yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
I would say probably hire an ops manager. Be clear in your descriptions.
Yep.
Like actual concrete. Not like I want to do this thing. Like, no, I want to do this many of this thing by this time frame, what have you. Like you said, delegate, drop the ego.
Figuring out what your role is
Yes.
so that
And
you can figure out what you don't have.
data, not drama.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you can walk away with those like 5 or 6 points right there, you can have a pretty good functioning team and you can actually build a culture off of that too.
Yep. You can get things done and everybody makes money.
Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody for coming out. And as y'all know, the replay is always going to be on YouTube. It gets more and more difficult to market these on Facebook and Instagram and the places that we put these out. So if we made you think, if we made you laugh, if we brought you value, if we made you smile or any of those things, only thing we ask that you come back next week and you bring a friend. So until then, guys, we will talk to y'all next week.
Well, thanks everybody.